Welcome to Wanderlust. Over the next 3 videos, we're going to meet an iconic force of the American prairie, the national mammal of the United States, the bison. To the Lakota, Tatanka, to others, buffalo. But whatever the name, a single glance at the animal shows that it's a stark force of nature. The bison is, in many ways, an echo of past worlds, when enormous ice sheets ebbed and flowed across the Earth's temperate latitudes, a time when lions and mammoths roamed North America with elk and deer. But to treat the bison as a relic is to misunderstand its importance in shaping the world we live in, and in the lives of countless others who came before. In this 3-part YouTube series, I will tell you the story of the bison. In the first video, we learn of the evolution and ecology of the animal prior to European contact, and of the Native Americans who came to be so deeply bonded to it. In the second, we discuss the changes the ecosystems of the Great Plains and its peoples underwent as Western expansion unfolded, and the bison was driven to the brink of extinction, from tens of millions to a mere 500. And in the third, we learn of the bison's dramatic recovery at the hands of a few individuals who decided that the animal was worth saving, and of its current role in the modern world. It's my hope that you'll leave this series with a profound sense of appreciation and wonder for this magnificent mammal in its domain. To understand the American bison, we first go across the ocean to southern Asia, when the steppe bison first appeared in the fossil record 2 million years ago. Over time, the steppe bison became so widespread through Europe and Asia that one jaded paleontologist called them the cockroaches of the Pleistocene. In part because of these great numbers, cave paintings in Spain indicate that the steppe bison loomed large in the imagination of ancient hunter-gatherer societies. This close relationship with the bison would continue for many thousands of years. As the Earth's ice sheets expanded and contracted, so did its sea levels. During periods of high glaciation, sections of land now underwater would have been crossable by wildlife. One group of steppe bison, crossing the Bering Land Bridge between East Asia and Western North America, colonized the Americas between 195,000 and 135,000 years ago. At an incredible speed, these animals began to explore the North American habitats and quickly evolve in form. It was one of these forms that would become the American bison as we know it today. Or, more accurately, 2 of these forms. Just as the Bering Land Bridge allowed travel from Asia to North America, periods of ice sheet decline opened corridors east of the Rockies, allowing travel from Yukon into the central United States. When the ice sheets expanded once more, bison populations became isolated and evolved into 2 subspecies, the wood bison in the north and the plains bison in the south. These 2 groups have been genetically separated for 5,000 years, and in that time have diverged in appearance. Most strikingly, the hump on the wood bison's back peaks in front of the shoulders and is much steeper, while the plains bison peaks above and is more shallow. These differentiations, and the genes that lead to them, are the raw material used by evolution to respond to change. And as we'll learn through this series, change and the bison have a deep history together, not only in their relations to humans, but to the very land itself. So if you can imagine an animal that weighs nearly 2,000 pounds moving through this landscape, every footstep is going to impact the soil beneath it. Every bit of grazing that the bison needs to do is going to affect the plant species around it. Bison will create these bare patches and flattened sections of grass on the ground. And this fundamental change in the structure of the landscape will often create new opportunities for novel plant species to colonize and arrive in the area. And these opportunities for what we call heterogeneity often improves the biodiversity of the ecosystem. Biodiversity is tied to the overall health of the ecosystem. And this is yet another way that bison can act as a keystone species for the Great Plains. In addition to their grazing patterns, bison will affect plant communities through wallowing. Bison attract large numbers of insects, and in an effort to rid themselves of these creatures, though also related to scent marking and play behavior, they'll sometimes roll around on the ground. This rolling behavior is called wallowing, and when repeated can create deep pits, which are often colonized by different plant species that dominate flatter ground. These pits can also fill with water, and when large enough support aquatic plants and other organisms. The native peoples of the Americas have hunted bison for many thousands of years. In fact, the oldest known evidence of human activity in North America comes from a set of butchered animal bones, including steppe bison, in the Bluefish Caves of northwestern Canada. Through the bounties of this hunting, some tribes formed a profound relationship with the bison, incorporating it into their mythology and sense of identity. Native Americans used bison parts for a great number of purposes. They fashioned bones into knives and scrapers, their hides were used to build teepees and clothing, their hair stuffed pillows and lined the insides of moccasins. Horns were used to carry burning embers, and with these embers, the natives would sometimes set fires. These fires were used to both manipulate the landscape by creating favorable grazing conditions for the bison, and in hunting efforts to maneuver them into buffalo jumps. Prior to the introduction of horses, which we will cover in the next video, buffalo jumps were the primary means of hunting the bison for the native peoples. Tribes would create hunting camps at the base of cliffs and through a number of techniques lure bison towards the edge. Sometimes fires were lit to manipulate the bison into the jump. Others, hunters called runners, would dress in animal pelts and capitalize on bison curiosity, with a leader in the front dressed as an antelope or some other plains animal. Those in the back would dress as wolves and when close to the jump begin to run towards them, forcing them into a stampede. The leader hunter would have to be specially trained, sometimes hiding in small crevices in the cliffs. It was a dangerous job that would sometimes lead to death. When working on this series, I visited the Madison Valley buffalo jump used by numerous tribes over the ages. It was a profound experience and one that will stay with me for years to come. At the bottom of this drop, archaeologists have found the remains of hunting camps and bison bones over 2,500 years old. Bison and the Native Americans were profoundly linked, and both would see supreme challenges to their existence after European contact. We will cover this event and the numerous impacts it had on the Great Plains and its inhabitants in part 2 of the series. Until then, wonder and wonder.